Welcome to our session on WordPress themes. In this session, we're going to cover what exactly is a theme. Basically, it controls the layout and appearance of your website's content. It can be simple or extremely complex. They can be well-coded or really problematic. Also, each theme includes a number of template files, and we'll discuss the 2010 theme in its entirety so you can see exactly what I mean. It gets kind of confusing when we start talking about themes and template files and what the difference is between the two, and you'll understand that before the session is done. So a little overview. We're going to cover the 2010 theme in this session, give you a tour. We're also going to attempt to create a simple theme live. We're going to create a child theme live. I expect that you're going to love that training. I'm going to talk even more about themes, where to get them, where not to get them, and a whole lot more. So if you're ready, let's get to it. I created this simple HTML and CSS web page that you're looking at right here. And now that it's been coded in HTML and CSS, my intention is to kind of show you just kind of the workflow of how a theme goes from a standard static HTML and CSS web page and becomes a WordPress theme. Now, the end theme isn't going to be, something that you're going to want to take and run with and actually start using on sites. We're not going to extend it that far. I'm really doing this because I just want you to understand at least some of the methodology behind how something goes from an HTML and CSS page and becomes a theme, because I think once you kind of see it, I think a lot of ideas and light bulbs are going to go on for you. You're going to see other opportunities for things. And of course, since we're going to give you the theme files, you have the ability to not only look at them at your leisure, but the ability to put them up somewhere on a development thing and play around with them and mess with them and not be afraid that you're going to break anything, because that's what it was created for, was simply to test. So of course, every web page, well, let's go back to themes. What are they? A WordPress theme is really nothing more than an HTML and CSS file, or HTML and CSS website, that then becomes integrated with PHP, specific PHP typically, because WordPress has a bunch of basically what you could call template tags, is how they're referred to, template tags and or custom functions that you can call out to basically retrieve data stored in the database and then dynamically insert it into your page. So realistically, if you think about it, that's all really a theme is. It's really just a standard HTML and CSS website, like any other, that has gone through the process of having specific PHP added to it that allows it to connect to the database to dynamically output content to the visitor, such that, for instance, like right now, if I were to go change this title of website, I'd have to open up the file in an HTML editor. I'd have to go find, we can look at the source real quick. So that particular title is right here. It is an H1 with a class of site title, and it is linked currently to nowhere, just a bookmark, and it says title of website. And if I wanted to change this in its current state, since it's simply just an HTML web page, I'd have to open up my text editor and change this text and then re-upload it to the web, and that information would be dynamic, or it would be uploaded, not dynamic. It would just be happening from a manual process. The same with the tagline text underneath, description from WordPress settings field, you see is an H2 tag. It's wrapped here with a class of site description, and it has a particular bit of text that it's it's outputting description from WordPress settings field. Well, the beauty of WordPress is the ability to change all of these things in the back end of WordPress rather than having to continually open up an HTML document in an editor and make all of your edits basically inside the code. So that's really the intent, is to take something that is right now nothing more than just a static web page and be able to chop it up in a particular fashion and to add the necessary PHP that will help it basically become an actual WordPress theme. And that's what we intend to do. So you'll notice just some of the setup. Obviously, it already feels like kind of a very simplistic, bare bones, but it feels like a WordPress site already. Of course, I created it with that intention. Not all HTML sites are obviously going to look this way. If I hadn't told you in advance that what you were looking at was in fact just a simple standard HTML and CSS page, you might have inaccurately believed that this was already a WordPress theme, and it's not. It's simply an HTML and CSS template. Now, the word template causes issues, specifically as we're going to talk about WordPress themes, because themes also do include, WordPress themes do also include what is referred to in WordPress speak as template files. So let's talk about that now. Let's go to a blank new tab so I can show you what I'm talking about. Let's go open up WordPress. I'm now in the WordPress core files that we downloaded from wordpress.org/download. I'm going to double click and open the wp-content directory, and inside of that I'm going to open themes. Again, by default, WordPress is currently shipping with 2011 and 2010, these two themes, and again a blank index file. This index file is only there to stop individuals from being able to browse this particular directory from a browser. So I'm going to open up the 2010 theme, because this is the one that I used basically to kind of as a jumping off point to code my own. And we're just going to talk about some of what we're seeing inside of here. You're going to notice that there's an images directory, images folder, and if I double click it, obviously we have images. There's a subdirectory of headers inside of this. You'll notice that there is the languages folder. We talked about this in the first session, the ability to add different languages to your WordPress backend. Right now you'll see that it says 2010. Looks like it's a PowerPoint template, which is interesting. If you have a I think it's .mo file for the language, you insert it into here. You'll also note that there's all of these pages that if I click over here, you'll notice that they say that the type of them is PHP script. There's a couple of cascading style sheets here, another here, and yet another here. At minimum, a WordPress theme needs one style sheet, and it must be named style in all lowercase .css. So already there's a change, or something has happened basically, a difference has happened in terms of you, the developer, creating a WordPress theme. If you're creating your own HTML and CSS site, you're not locked down to a particular name. You can name this style sheet anything you want. However, for WordPress, in order for it to work, it needs at minimum only two files. A theme must have an index.php file, and it must have a style.css file. If you have just those two files and nothing else, you can actually build a theme from it. It will be very bare bones. It won't have much functionality, but it will still technically be a theme. As from WordPress 3.0 and on, they now also, you'll see in some documentation, it'll say that the comments.php file is also now considered a required file as part of your theme package. I didn't include a comments.php file in the package that I'm going to be giving to you, just because simply we're creating it not to be used as a theme, but to be used as something, as a training ground. But just so you know, the style.css file and the index.php file are the two at minimum that you must have. So what are all of these files? Well, some of them, of course, they're intelligently named so that they work pretty well. The 404.php file is for handling of 404 errors. If someone receives a 404 error on your site, if you have included a 404.php file, they are redirected to that particular file. Now, most of these other files, the ones that are called out as PHP scripts, not all, but most, are referred to as template files. And this causes confusion because we're talking about WordPress themes, and now all of a sudden I'm using the word templates. So just understand that a theme is nothing more than a combination of directories and PHP files and CSS files and a screenshot image, etc., that are basically all contained within a main directory. In this case, the directory or folder with the name of 2010. Once all of those template files and everything else are loaded inside of this directory then becomes the WordPress theme, the combination of basically the whole. In terms of naming themes, I'll say a couple of things. The first thing is they have to start with letters. You can't start them with numbers. That's part of the naming convention that is required by WordPress. So you could do that with a HTML site without a problem, but as far as WordPress is concerned, when you create your own child themes or when you create your own themes, etc., they need to start with an alpha, not a numeric. It's typically best, as you're looking at here, to use all lowercase. You don't have to, but it's typically best. And you'll notice that there's no spaces between the names, which is typical naming convention for WordPress themes. Going back into 2010, you'll notice that there's, archive.php, which is a page specifically to show you the archives, category.php that shows you post by category, etc. Inside of WordPress, we were talking about the ability to, or some themes basically have a specific style sheet specifically created to use in conjunction with the WordPress editor, and that's these two here. There's editor style and editor style RTL, which is short for right to left. There's another RTL style sheet here, and then, like I said, the main style sheet is style.css. Another thing to point out that is different from many HTML setups is that your style sheet for the main style cannot be inside of another directory. So, and I'll show you that. I did it on purpose when I created the HTML page. Basically, I created it the way I would normally create it, and that is by creating a folder or directory named CSS and by putting the style sheet inside of it. You can have additional style sheets inside of a directory, but the main style.css file must live basically in the same root area along with the index.php page and everything else. So just please note that there's specific placement of files that you're required to follow. There's specific names of files that you're required to file in case or in instance, like I said, that you must have style.css and you must have index.php. There's also some other things to note in regards to naming. So, for example, you'll see that there's a PHP script template file called page, or page.php. This is the page that's used to display static page content as opposed to the one that displays blog content. The post content, you might expect that it's called post.php, but it's not. In terms of posts, it's actually single. So the single.php file is used basically for that full post page. Whenever you see you're initially on the blog page, you click on the post title and it takes you to the new page that is specific for just that post. It's basically using this particular file, the single.php file. So as far as naming conventions are concerned, you have to be really careful when you're naming files, because there's something called a template hierarchy, which is just fancy to say that it looks for one file before it looks for any other, and if it can't find it, it looks for something else, and if it can't find it, it looks for something else, etc. And so here's just kind of a quick example in regards to the home page for your site. You'll notice that this theme does not include a file called front-page.php. There is no such file here. However, if there was a front-page.php file, the WordPress template hierarchy says that that is the file to use to display the home page or front page content. If it can't find front-page.php amongst the files, it secondly looks for a file named home, home.php, and sees if it can find that, and it cannot. It's not here either. If it can't find front page and if it can't find home, the next page it looks for is index.php. And of course that's here. So this is the page, or the coding basically, that's being used to control the output of the home page. Excuse me. The same process happens in other pages as well. So for example, if you create a page of PHP, a page in WordPress, it looks for page.php first. And I guess technically it really looks for pages that are even more specific. So this one that's one column hyphen page, it's a different page template. It's basically a template that has no sidebar. By default, it would want to output this before page. So you just have to understand the hierarchy. There's more information on the template hierarchy of WordPress on WordPress's Codex site. But I just want you to understand that when it comes to naming conventions and when it comes to specific, you have to understand the hierarchy at least when you go about your naming, because your naming can definitely affect things. So the one thing that I guess the last thing I'll point out in regards to these files is, again, the index.php file. What you need to know about the index.php file is it is the fallback template file for everything. So in other words, if it looks for front page.php and it can't find it, and then it looks for home.php and it can't find it, it's eventually going to look and say, well, do they at least have an index.php file? And it knows the answer to that has to be yes, because in order for a WordPress theme to be complete, at minimum, it must have an index.php page. The same thing would go for pages. If you're creating page content and it can't find the page.php, it's eventually going to look for and find index.php. Same thing with every single other template file on the site, which is why you can get away with creating a WordPress theme with nothing more than an index.php file and the style.css file. So that's just a quick overview. The other thing I just want to point out before we get out of here is anytime that we talk about themes, it becomes extremely complex. because I hear people ask all the time, well, how do you do this and how do you do that and how do you do this and how do you do that? Well, the problem with that is that quite frequently you will find that not that two themes don't include basically the same files, and they're not named the same. So here's a quick example, and I don't know, I haven't really opened up 2011 to see how different the theme file structure for it is, but you'll notice again, like I said, there's no home, there's no front page. We do have a header.php file, we do have a footer.php file. These are very standard in most themes, but you'll notice that in other themes you may have way more or way less template files that make up the theme. Just for fun, let's open up 2011 real quick and take a look at it. Yeah, so here we have all sorts of files that weren't inside of 2010. Content aside, content featured, content gallery, content image, etc. You'll notice that these are all based around the content.php file. So even though I haven't looked into this theme specifically to know exactly what it's using these files for at the moment, I can tell you that what's happening is if it can't find any one of these specific content pages, it's going to default to content.php. It's part of basically how the hierarchy works. Yeah, Jerry.
In the right-hand side of 2011, when we were in it, there was a type of template that you chose, and there was like a side and different link and all that, and you normally would just leave it on standard.
Yeah, the post format.
Right, the post format. If you change the post format, those correspond to what's after the type. So if you chose gallery, it would use the gallery, content gallery one. If it didn't find content gallery, it would then use content. But that's how it uses these particular ones. So and again, it's a hierarchy. It tries to find the one that's specific, and then it works its way back down until it gets to index.
And if we were to just, if you really want to have fun, if you have a development area, since I know that what Jerry just said is absolutely true. This is basically that these content files are attached to that post format feature inside the post editor. If you wanted to have some fun, what you could do is delete the content.php file, but set the post format as standard. So it would want to use this file, but as soon as it couldn't find it, it's going to default to something else, and more than likely it'll go right back to index. So you might see the content get displayed totally differently, but you'll get an idea basically how and why the hierarchy works. It looks for something specific, and then if it can't find it, it basically has an order of things. Okay, look for this, nope. Look for that, nope. Look for this, nope. Hey, default back to the index.php page. So just understand that, this is one of the really complex issues of being a theme creator and a provider of support for themes, is that we frequently get asked questions about how do you do this or that, but very frequently the answer to that question is it's theme dependent, and you have to have specific knowledge with the theme in order to know how to work with it. And that brings up a really, really good point, something I wasn't necessarily going to make mention at the moment, but I'll talk about it just for a second, and that's this. When we get into child themes, one of the best usage of a child theme, in addition to the fact that it allows you just to mess with stuff and have just a ton of fun playing with things without actually breaking the actual main parent theme, and you'll see how that works in a little while. But one of the other benefits is if you find a theme that you really like, that's well coded, that works really well for your particular needs, you can use it as basically your parent theme and then create a child theme and then do your tweaks in the child theme to cause different fonts to show up or different colors or different basically just customize it without actually touching the core, because once you learn how one particular theme works and operates, you're obviously much more efficient when you work with it, as opposed to having to learn how to work with, say, 50 different themes is much more inefficient than having to, figure out how to work with 2 or 3, which is basically one of the reasons. We'll talk about more about where to get themes later, but one of the reasons why a lot of people stick with the same premium providers, like Jerry, he likes the themes that are provided over at wp-themes, wp-themes.com. The wp themes are created on a specific framework or a specific back end, such that while they look different from the front, they really mostly work the same in the back. So understanding how to work with one, while it might not be perfectly translatable across all of them, it's mostly the fact that you don't have to reinvent the wheel each time you want to go use a new theme that comes from that particular provider. Just something to think about. The other file that I'm going to mention in here before we start hacking away is functions. Functions.php. Functions, the code inside of here can be, pretty complex and kind of daunting to look at, but what you can think of as functions, basically it does exactly what it says. It allows you to add certain functions, to trying to think of what's the right term, register certain functions, and then use those functions in your theme. A lot of the functions that you can add to the functions.php file are very plug-in like. As a matter of fact, you can even add widgets that are available inside of the widgets area, straight from inside of your functions.php file. So when you think about the functions file, understand that it's very full-featured, that the more you understand about the functions.php file, the more you'll understand about how you can extend a particular theme. My only caution is it would be much better if you were to create a child theme and then mess with the functions in there, because that way you won't actually override or destroy any of the original functions for the parent theme. But like I said, we'll get into that in a bit. So with that, let's talk about this particular HTML web page, and let's talk about chopping it up. And let me just show you kind of a step-by-step process in dynamic mode as to how that's done. So we're looking at a page, and we're looking at a page as a unit. It's just one cohesive thing right now. But when we're done, we're going to chop it up into multiple parts. You're probably familiar with, if you worked with WordPress for any length of time, you're probably familiar with the header.php file. So most of the stuff that's in the head, or if you think of it another way, is it's at the top of the page, is content that's output across most every page of your site. So the title, the description, and our main navigational area, we want output across each page regardless of where that is. So we can basically chop this code out and put it into the header.php file. We'll show you that here in a second. The same goes for this very minimalistic content in the bottom. Whoops. Way down here. It's not happy with me. Down here, there's simply just a copyright statement and a line. This could be chopped up and put into the footer.php file. This area over here on the right could be chopped up and put into the sidebar.php file. And this area over here, which is where the main content is, would then become our index.php file. So our main core file. Once all the code from those files basically is assembled back together, it becomes a full page, and it renders just like this. But in effect, what's happening is dynamically, and this is the way that the 2010 theme, the 2011 theme, and most anything that you're experienced with is already working, whether you know it or not, is that this code isn't like it is now. If I look at source now, all of this code is held inside of one document, the document being index.html. right? What we're going to do is we're going to chop up the content, and we're going to say that, you know, a portion of this, maybe down to the menu area, all of that content, we want that to be in the header.php file. And this main content, we want to be in the index.php file. Oops, I grabbed the sidebar. The sidebar area here, we want to be in the sidebar.php file. And then everything below that, we want to be in the footer.php file. So what you can think about it is this: it's the same content, really. We're just chopping it up into individual pieces. But what happens with WordPress is it dynamically assembles everything back together such that when it renders basically exactly as it is now, of course, with the addition of some PHP functionality. The reason that's done is because now, if I decide to change the title of the website in the back end of WordPress, it only has to write that area to one file. It writes it to header.php, and since that file is used across the entire site, it's basically a once and done type of an operation. Same thing with the tagline, same thing with the menu items. These are controlled inside of the custom WordPress menu area, and this menu is the same for every page of the site. Of course, it is possible to create unique page templates that show completely different content than the default. I'm basically just showing you kind of the bare bones minimum, because this will be quite feature-packed as it is. So I think with that, we'll go ahead and start the process. I'll jump back over to the new tab, and we'll see how this goes. All right, so inside of session 3, we have the HTML site, and we'll take a quick look at it. Remember, I said it's basically nothing more than an index.html page, and I did it like I would normally create it if I was creating a static site. I created the style sheet inside of the CSS directory or folder. If I double-click it, you'll see that style.css exists, but it exists inside of a directory. Well, that's no longer something that we can do over, when we create it as a theme inside of WordPress. So the first thing we need to do is we need to create a new directory name. I already have one here that's called live demo name, demo theme, and that actually has the full demo theme already coded inside of it. So I'll create a new one just for the moment. I'm going to create a new folder, and we'll just name it demo, just so we can see it separate from that. And again, by default, we're going to start with just an index.php or an index.php file and a style.css file. Well, here's what I want you to think about. If you've heard the term starter themes used before, basically what a starter theme is, it's basically a somewhat simplified theme that's known to be very well coded, that's known to follow really good practices in terms of coding for WordPress, and you use that basically as your starting point to basically start messing around and creating your own. I've chosen the 2010 theme to be the starter theme, basically, that's going to help us with this theme development. So what I'm going to do is, let's get into here. I actually want to copy that theme. So I'm going to copy the entire 2010 theme, and I'm going to paste it back in my working area so we can take a look at it. So again, we start off with this HTML site that has the index.html page and the CSS folder with the style sheet inside of it. So here's what we're going to do just to begin with. I'm going to copy the index page, and I'll paste it inside of demo, since that's where we're working, just moving it basically from one area to another. And I'm going to get the style sheet out of here. I'll copy that out and paste it in there as well. Okay, so now what we have is we have the bare bones basic beginnings of a WordPress theme. Like I said, you can literally create a theme using just these two files and nothing else, even though the functionality will be extremely minimal. So let's talk about the style sheet first of all. What differs between this style sheet and the actual one for WordPress is pretty minimal, but there is a significant, or there's an important difference rather. So let's talk about that. Let's open up the 2010 theme, and let's actually open up the style sheet. And this is basically the process that you would go through if you just wanted to kind of use a starter theme to hack and basically create your own. You simply just use the starter theme as basically a basis and to give you intelligence of how to go ahead and create and improve your own. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to choose to open this in Edit Plus, and we're going to see a bunch of CSS. Now if you're familiar with looking at CSS, then maybe this already makes some sense to you, and if this is the first time you've ever looked at a CSS file, then this is probably just a bunch of gibberish. Here's what you need to know. Starting at line 13 and down on the 2010 theme is kind of like all the real actual CSS styling. Everything line 10 and above is custom information specific to WordPress. Now in CSS terms, anytime you see a /* like this, you know that it's starting what's called a CSS comment, meaning that it's something that you can see when you open the file, but it's really not supposed to output or control the style sheet. It's just left for your information, the reader of this particular style sheet. When you are finished with the comment, it reverses with */, which is why this particular area is green inside of Edit Plus, because it's a comment, as opposed to this area which is styled in black text, because this is actually controlling the styling, the layout, or the look and feel of our site. So this, if you haven't already picked it up on it, this is also a comment. Anytime that you see, if you're using Edit Plus, if you start seeing this green text, you'll notice that this is a CSS comment. I just wanted to point that out. Going back to the top though, this information right here is the important bit. This is the only thing that we need to do to change our CSS file in order to make it accessible or work inside of WordPress. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy lines 1 through 10. I'll highlight all, select all basically, Control-C to copy it to my clipboard. Let me see here. I'll close the WP config file from earlier. And we'll also open the style sheet. This is now the style sheet from our HTML site. So in the first area, we have the style sheet open from the 2010 theme. And now we have the style sheet open from the code that I created. So you can see at the very top on line 1, I've got a CSS comment that says import the Google Web Font. I'm using Google Web Font for this particular web page, and we'll use it also for the theme, such that it will allow us to use either Droid Serif or Droid Sans Serif, basically, and display that font to anybody who can access our site from the web, regardless of whether they have that font on their machine. So all I need to do is I need to basically put my cursor before line 1 and hit my Enter key, give us some space, and then go back to the top, and I'm going to Control-V to paste. And I'm simply going to paste that information straight over from the 2010 theme. So here's what we're looking at, and here's what we need to change. All of this information here on the left is specific and exacting information that you have to have, or you can't alter this in order for it to work. So the information to basically the left of each of these colons is specific. You can't rename these however you'd like. The theme name is now whatever our new theme is going to be called, and we could name it, whatever we want. There's 2010 and 2011. Maybe we wanted to name it 2012, or maybe we wanted to name it Charlie. It really doesn't matter. We can name the theme whatever we would like. Again, understand that you can edit the values to the right, but you need to not edit the values to the left. The theme URI. This is the URI or URL that's basically saying to the visitor, the Charlie theme can be gotten from wordpress.org. Well, that may or may not be accurate for you. Maybe you don't even allow anyone else to use the Charlie theme. It's just yours. You can leave this alone. You can change this to your own URL, or you can simply delete the entire line altogether. You don't have to have a theme URI. It's not a requirement. For now, I'll just say that you want to at least give yourself some credit. So you can link this, or basically say that that's where you go to get it. The description area is the description for your theme. And all of the information, you can add a lot of information. You'll see that there's a lot of information here for the 2010 theme, but it all has to be on one line, just so you know. You can't break up the content into, I'm trying to just get rid of all this stuff. You can't add the information over more than one line. So what I'm saying is you can't do this and then return and then think that that's going to work. It won't work. So your description can be short or it can be long, but it must be on one line, just so you know. So the description, it could be, Charlie theme created from 2010. Whatever you want to say is entirely up to you. The author of the theme could become your name. The version of the theme can be whatever you want it to be. Maybe it's version 1.0. If you want to stipulate the license, you can do that. If you want to show them where they can read about the license, in this case, they've just decided to include a file rather than an actual link to a website, just a file that's called license.txt. That's up to you. If you don't care about any of this stuff, you can get rid of the license stuff altogether. If this theme's just for you, it just doesn't matter. Same thing with tags. Tags are cool if you're going to put your theme up on wordpress.org so people can find them. But if this is just your theme, it just really doesn't matter. I guess one other thing I should point out is, interestingly enough, this particular style sheet didn't have an author URI. They frequently do. So what I'm going to do is create a new line. And again, you have to know the specific bits that you can use in order for this to work. You can't just type anything you want. But I'll put in an author URI. So basically, you have the ability to put a URL to the theme itself and then a URL, what they call a URI, to link to your actual author name as well. So could be the same location, could be two different websites, entirely up to you. So with that, I'll go ahead and save the style sheet, and that's the entire amount of work that we needed to do to the style sheet in order to make it work for WordPress. Pretty easy. Again, we just used the intelligence followed by the 2010 theme to kind of help, along with some instruction from me on that. So I'll go ahead and close both of those. So next, I think I haven't actually tried this, but I think we'll try it live real quick. If it doesn't work, you can all laugh at me. I'm okay with that. But I think what we're going to do is this. I think I'm going to open up Edit Plus again. We're going to open up the index .html file, take a quick peek at it, and see what changed. Okay, we're going to save this as index.php, and then just go see if it at least shows up as a theme inside of WordPress, which it technically should, even though none of this content would be editable inside of WordPress. You'd still have to edit it all inside of the actual raw code. But there is one change that we have to make, and that's this right here. So this is the link to the style sheet, and right now here's the path or the hyperlink reference that it's looking for. It's looking for the file inside of the CSS folder, and then it's looking for a file called style.css. Well, that file exists, but it's no longer inside of the CSS folder. So at the moment, I'm just going to get rid of CSS / and save this. And when I save it, I'm going to do a file save as. You'll see down here through Edit Plus, I have the ability to select different types. So I'm going to choose PHP, and I'm going to name this .php. And I'll save it right back inside the same folder, demo, and close that. All right, let's take a look at right now the demo folder. So the demo folder or directory, we've got an index.html page, and we've got an index.php page, and we have the style sheet that has the updated information. For now, I'm simply going to just Control X. I'm going to cut that index.html page out. I shouldn't need it, but I'll just paste it there for the moment. Let's just go upload demo and see what happens. It should become accessible inside of WordPress as a theme named Charlie. So let's see. Looks like we're still connected. Okay. So I'll just double click WP content. We'll get inside of themes. And right now you see that we have 2011 and 2010. So one of the ways you can add themes to your site is to simply upload them via FTP. So let me find, and it's right here. It's the demo theme, and I'm double click to make sure that's correct, and it is. So it's the demo directory right here. I'm going to right click and choose upload, and now you can see that we've just added this this theme that has basically nothing more than an index.php file, which is really nothing more than index.html file that we renamed to index.php. The only difference to that file at this point is that we just changed the hyperlink reference to the style sheet such that it could be found. So if we get back inside of WordPress and we go to Appearance and Themes, voila, we see a new theme named Charlie. Now there's no image here. We'll deal with that next. But there's not yet an image. But you see already that we're starting the process. You see that we have a theme named Charlie version 1.0 by your name, and you see that your name is linked. This is where that link came from, the author URI. Here's the descriptions, the Charlie theme created from 2010. And we have the ability to activate the theme, preview the theme, or delete the theme. Let's preview it just to see what it looks like. Okay, so all of our content is there, but our styles are all messed up. So I've done something. Jerry, you already figured it out?
Oh, I've already figured it out. I thought you were going to talk about it. I just wanted to say how pretty it looks.
Okay, cool. So since you've already figured it out, I'm doing this differently than I even planned on doing it, but since you've already figured it out, correct me.
You are looking for the style sheet in the root directory, not in the theme directory, because the index.php is actually run as on the root. So go back to your actually you should be able to activate your theme, and then you would be able to see it. See, the problem is it can't find the style sheet. So now go view your page.
Yeah, and it looks like this.
Yeah.
And if you ever
Right.
see
So now,
this, this is basically a good indicator to you that the path to your style sheet is broken. That's what happens when all your content's there, but your layout and styling is done.
yeah, this one actually looks rather nice because of the way it was designed. But if you go back there, now do a right-click View Source,
I always just,
View Page Source, or yeah, whatever works for you. If you'll notice on it says href style on line 9.
yeah.
Well, it's looking at live training URL.info
Yeah.
for that, and
Yep.
you don't have the full path.
Gotcha. Okay, so that's the first beautiful bit of information, and Jerry just righted my brain because this whole package doesn't live inside of the root for the domain. It actually lives inside of the WP content directory, which lives inside of the themes directory, which lives inside of the demo directory, etc. And so it needs to be able to find the proper path to the style sheet, and it can't do that because it's hard coded. Now I could add it in a hard-coded manner such that it would work, but it really wouldn't make sense. Realistically, this is best done through PHP. So let's go do this real quick. Let's just go open up the 2010 theme we have right here, and let's take a look at the header.php file. This file, again, is really a short file. There's not a whole lot of content here, but it replicates the top section of each page of the site, and I know that's where the call out to the style sheet is included, so let's go look at it. Okay, so when you look at the header.php file, and again you're looking at the 2010 theme, something that is available to you and that you can, hack to your heart's content, you'll notice that they've included some interesting or some intelligent comments, and they've created it in such a way to make it good for theme developers in regards to the ability to do exactly what we're doing. So it's the header for our theme. It displays all of the head section, everything up to, and they even give you the specific div ID that it's going to show the content up to. And then there's some other specific stuff that's specific for the 2010 theme that we don't need. And then it starts the actual HTML content, just like ours. So what we can do is come down here and find the PHP path to the style sheet. And we'll find it right here on line 37. You see where it says link relation equals style sheet. This is the bit of PHP right here that allows the theme to dynamically find the right path to the style sheet file. So all we'd have to do basically is just to copy this little bit of code right out, and do that now, go put it into our own, replace this basically now with this, and we now basically are through PHP dynamically saying to go get the blog info, find the style sheet URL, and to replace this bit of PHP with the actual real path to the style sheet. That's basically what PHP does. It dynamically processes things on the server, and it outputs the end result of the process back into your HTML document such that the browser can work with it. So now that that's done, we can go back, and this time we can just re-upload the index.php file into the demo theme, and we should be able to see it now. And we do. So it looks like a theme. I mean, things work, you see the rollovers are working, rollovers down here working. It looks like post content, kind of looks like we've already done it. But in reality, in the back end of WordPress, even though the theme is here and even though the theme is active, you can't do anything with it. There's no ability. If we go to pages and try to create new content, it won't post anywhere. If we go create posts, they won't post anywhere. You can't change that content as far as, let's see, you can't change that content at all because we're not dynamically saying, we're not dynamically using the other part of WordPress, the other specific features of WordPress. So in order to speed this process up, I'm just going to show you the header.php file. And I'm going to show you the header.php file from 2010, which I already have open, and we'll just talk about it, and we'll talk about basically chopping up this thing, but we're going to have to speed this process up, otherwise we're going to be here for the next 5 days. So let me go back to the new tab, get a blank sheet, and let's go look at it. So that gives you an idea in regards to one little element that we use dynamically for PHP. But what about all this other stuff? What about the title tag? I mean, the title tag should be able to be dynamic. And the character set, right now we have it set to UTF-8, but realistically that should be able to be updated through the config file, right? I mean, that's a value from the config file, so we should allow the visitor to be able to change that in the settings area and allow that to be updated. Down here, obviously, the title of the website should be dynamic, the tagline should be dynamic, etc. The menu items should all be dynamic, and it goes on. So what we'll do is we'll look at header.php and take a look at some of this. So you'll see that they're using this little bit of opening and closing PHP on this page, which is not necessary. You don't have to include it in your header file. This is optional. It's one thing to basically tell you. The page can definitely start with just the doc type declaration, which is right here, but you'll start noticing things. So with the HTML tag, you'll see right now it says PHP language attributes. So this is a dynamic call out. Basically, it says what language are they using? Okay, put that information here. The next is the character set. We just talked about that. Rather than fixing it, allow them to dynamically update it through WordPress settings. And it continues. The title tag, rather than fixing it, allow the title tag to be based on what is being viewed. And it's kind of crazy, but all of this information right here, lines 35 through 15 or 15 through 35, actually all control how the title tag is viewed. Some of these things actually, add the blog description for the home and front page. Some of these are conditional statements. You can see that if it's the front page, which is right here, if it's is home, is front page, then it's supposed to echo the site description. This is a value that is indicated or stated inside of the WordPress settings. That site title inside of WordPress is called the site description as far as the variable is concerned. Whatever you enter into that field inside of WordPress, it then outputs, and the list goes on. There's some other link information that you don't really need to understand. You can just simply just copy paste. There's a specific link here that allows pingbacks and trackbacks to work. And so while you might use it or not, it's good to include them such that the other users, might be able to use them. Down here, there's another bit of PHP, and this part is really important. This allows for threaded comments, so that's basically how that's enabled in a theme. But this part right here, the WP head, is really important, and you'll see that there's a comment right here that says always, and that should be a key. Always have WP head just before the closing head tag. Well, where's that? It's right here. So it's saying that basically, if nothing else, make sure that you have this bit of PHP right before the closing head tag. And the reason that is because a lot of plugins use this particular PHP function, the WP head function, in order to do a lot of things, including like if you're using the all-in-one SEO plugin, etc., it'll inject content into your source code directly from the plugin. And the way it does that is it hooks into the WP head function. So if it's not there, basically, you already know that you're going to run into problems with that particular plugin and many others because it needs this particular PHP function in order to work. And that's why I kind of started earlier telling you that basically a theme isn't a theme isn't a theme is not necessarily a theme, because if you have a theme created by a really talented, experienced provider, it's very likely that the theme will include all of the intelligence necessary for you to work with that theme very well, and for it to integrate with other plugins, and basically to provide you a very good user experience. If the theme is improperly coded, it's very possible basically that all sorts of things will break. So just because, I guess what I'm saying is not all themes are created equal. That's probably enough to say about that. If you look at their header.php file, you'll see that it contains a lot more. Some people think it's going to stop at the head, but really you can stop the header.php file wherever you'd like. And the reason why it continues past the head in this case is because they want to include the navigation. So the navigation is actually way down here. Div ID equals access, the role equals navigation. And you can basically see where the navigation is being entered. So what you could do is you could start, just copying all of this and start pasting it into your code. But there is some other things that you need to be aware of. Anytime that you're using specific IDs or classes, there's a class I think up here. This is dynamic, the body class. Underneath here, there's a div with an ID of wrapper, a class with hfeed. Very frequently, these IDs and classes are being styled, or they're being used to style specifically via the style sheet. So if you just do a straight copy and paste from here and just basically put this into your content, you're quickly replicating the 2010 theme, but it may not start working because if you've styled your div ID with something other than wrapper and the next div is something other than header, etc., things may not work. So it's not a great idea to simply just start moving fast. A better idea is to basically kind of look at certain areas and start making some determinations. So let me say this. The doc type right up here is already fine. There's nothing we need to do about it. We have a hard-coded HTML statement, and there is a URL here to what's called the XML namespace. If I look at the header.php file for 2010, you'll see it says HTML, and then it says PHP language attributes. Well, because I've already done this, I know that it outputs the language attributes, for instance, that you want to view the web page in English, etc. But it doesn't actually include the HTML namespace URL. And for XHTML to be valid, it needs it. So what I'm going to do is, for this, I'm simply going to copy this bit of PHP out. Again, I'm going to highlight it, Control-C. I'm going to come back to my file, and I'm going to find where I want it. I can either put it before or after. It really doesn't matter, but I'll put it before, and I'll Control-V to paste. So now it's going to output the PHP language attributes, and it's also going to keep my XML namespace information, which is how I like it. The next down is the title tag. Okay, well, right now it's dynamic. I mean, it's not dynamic, it's hard-coded, and I don't want that. So how do we want to do it? Well, we go find theirs. Starts with title, ends with title. It's all of this. And I'm going to Control-C to copy it. I'll bring it over here. And I'm going to paste right on top of where I currently have title. So instead of this one statement now, I'm going to Control-V. I'm going to paste all of that. Now, I'm not going to go into all the hows and whys of all of this. Just know that dynamically it's going to work pretty well. It's going to dynamically allow us to use the title. There's one little bit in here that needs to be changed. You'll see this part that says 2010. This is specific to the theme folder name. So we copied this from 2010, but now we have a theme named of demo, at least as far as the directory name is concerned, the folder name. Yes, we named the theme Charlie, but the actual folder name was named demo. So I simply just replaced 2010 with demo, and I hope that makes sense. Anytime that we copy anything from 2010 that includes the words 2010 in all lowercase, we're going to replace it with demo. So next, let's see. Well, there's some link statements, and those are all cool. Those are all work just exactly as is, so we can copy those over. And let's see. This bit of PHP, I can tell you from experience, this part works just fine. This will add threaded comments to our theme, and it'll help us output the head. So that part's fine. We can do that without any problem. So I'm going to grab basically everything from line 36 to 52, and I'm going to paste it basically right here. Now, we already have a meta statement as far as the character set is concerned, and we have a link for the style sheet, but we don't have to worry about that because one of these is the link to the style sheet. Actually, let's look at the character set. The character set we set, actually we didn't though. Let me back up just a second. We input the title already. We didn't actually update the meta character set. It's in a different spot, which is okay. Let me come down here and take a quick peek at it. All right, so this is our character set call out, and right now it's not dynamic. This is, again, fixed, and we don't want that. So I'm going to replace that, and we'll come back and put in the dynamic character set here in just a minute. It's not part of, I'm not sure if it's part of what I'm copying right now or not. Yeah, it's not. So at the moment, we've removed the character set call out, and that's not good. So we've added the 3 link statements. The style sheet is dynamic again. It knows how to dynamically find the style sheet URL, so that'll all just work fine. We've now added the proper PHP to include pingbacks or trackbacks. We have threaded comments now enabled, and we've added the WP head just before the closing head tag, so that's all happy. The other thing that we need to do, though, is we need to go grab this dynamic meta character set. And since they have it before the title, the order of which is not important, but I'll go ahead and put it right back basically in the same place that they do. So we've got all that going on. I'm going to take a quick peek at the rest of our content. Basically down here is all our just static HTML. And we'll get to that point and take a look at the header.php file and just basically compare. That's all we're doing is just looking at ours, looking at theirs, figuring out what we can include, what we shouldn't. So right here on line 55, they're outputting some PHP that basically dynamically changes the body class depending upon what page it's on. And I can tell you from prior experience that that's a good thing to do. So we can add that to our body tag. And again, don't worry that all of this makes perfect sense. You'll get the files and be able to look through them. It really, this is again, I'm not trying to, I don't consider myself a theming ninja. I can create themes, but I hire and employ a full-time coder to do this for me, because while I understand it to a degree, he understands it to a much higher level, much more intimately. I do want to give you just some idea, though, basically about what's going on, what a theme is, and just kind of give you an idea live in regards to kind of how a theme is built. It really isn't anything more than just HTML and CSS, like I said, that just starts to use some specific PHP callouts to start the dynamic process, the ability for WordPress to inject dynamic content from the database. So we'll continue to look at, this is ours now, we'll go look at 2010. We'll take a look at things. The next bit of PHP, and that's all really what we're looking for, is now here. It says it's going to output the heading tag, and it's going to output the heading tag. It says if it's the home or front page, basically, to output an H1, and if it's not the home or front page, it's going to instead of wrap it in a div tag. That may be what you want to do or not. Basically, what it's controlling, basically, again, you see the ID of site title. If we go back to the live site, is this. It's saying that if it's the home page, to wrap that content in an H1 tag, make it an H1 heading tag. But if it's on some other page, to wrap it in a div tag, which may be what you want to do, but for me personally, I'd rather just leave it as an H1 tag. Otherwise, it's going to create some more complexities for me in terms of CSS styling. So for now, we'll just leave it as an H1. Go back and take a look at this. So this is dynamically determining what the heading tag should be, and then it's going to echo the value of that heading tag with an ID of site title. All right. You can also see that the next thing it's going to do, it's creating a link. There's the ahref, which if you know much about HTML, you know that anytime you see the A tag, the anchor tag, it's going to say, I'm going to create a link, and it's going to link the home URL, or basically the homepage URL. It's going to give it a specific dynamic title, which is going to include information from blog info, the name, and the display. And it's going to output this. It's the PHP function for blog info with a value or variable of name. So this is basically, in effect, the actual site name from inside of WordPress. The next one underneath it is the actual tagline, or what's called the description. So these two bits of code basically are outputting the dynamic text for the site title, or the name of the blog, and then the description of the blog, which in the back end of WordPress is referred to as the tagline. It's too bad that they didn't keep those really consistent, but you just kind of have to know what each value represents. So we can continue to go through this process, but it's going to take too long. So what I'm going to do now is just we'll open up index, and what I'm saying to you is this. You get to the point to where you want to be in your code, and you say, okay, well, let's see here. We're going to add all these other items in a bit, and here's our navigation, and we want the navigation to show up on each page, so that makes sense to include in the header.php. Underneath that, you'll see a comment that says this ends the header area, and then down here it gets into the main container, the main content. So what you can do is you can delete everything below the area that you want to become header.php. And once you're happy with it, before you do anything else, you do a file save as. And you turn this into, instead of index, you turn it into header.php. So now what happens is there's a way to basically include in the index page. Let me close 2010's header. Let's see. This is our new header.php page, and some of it has some PHP input, some of it does not. Some of this is still not dynamic, but you can kind of see how we've done it. We've basically taken it from the top of the code all the way down to the actual navigation area, just like the 2010 theme did. We've chopped it off and we've named it header.php. So the next thing is, well, how does this file basically get put together dynamically by WordPress back like a puzzle? And that's because of this. Let's go open index.php of the 2010 theme so you can see. Okay. How this works is basically this. There are these includes, basically. It's a statement that says to get the header. So here's the actual index page from 2010, and you'll notice that it's actually, there's not a whole lot here. I mean, it's actually pretty blank. The top part is mostly just comments. There is a PHP tag, and it kind of looks weird because it's split over two lines down here and on line 1. In order to actually complete that statement, you need both. And then underneath, it's just, pretty much raw HTML for a bit. And then there's a bit of PHP that says, just like before in the get, it says to get template part, the loop. And we'll talk about the loop in just a minute. Down below, you'll see there's a get sidebar, and underneath that, a get footer. So when WordPress loads this index.php page, even though there's very little here, it'll output a complete web page, including all of the content from the header, all the content from the loop because of this, and you'll see what that is in a minute, and then all the content from the sidebar, and then all the content from the footer. And when it pieces these all back together, it becomes, voila, a beautiful web page. So all we're going to do with ours, and I'm going to stop this process and we'll just kind of show you the loop and just talk about themes in general. I'll supply you with all the code, all the HTML, all of the template, all the HTML template files and all the theme files, so you can look through it piece by piece and kind of figure out how it was done. But just looking at time, it's not possible for me to just go detail line by line by line. We'd probably be here till 4 o'clock tomorrow morning. So what we're going to do is we're going to take these two pieces, the get header, we're going to strip them out. We're going to put them into our index page. So I'm going to strip out this part here because, again, it's kind of weird. It's broken up into two pieces, and it doesn't have to be. You can see that typically they look like this. So I'm going to put it, I'm not going to put it in the header. That's not where it needs to go. We need to put it inside of our index. So let's open the index page for our site. And before we do, you need to look at this again and realize that we have all of this information from the header is still here. I didn't delete it, but we need to. So we need to figure out where we need to delete it from. And what we did was we deleted, or we basically included, if we look at header, you'll see that this code starts at the top and it concludes basically with the div right here that says ends header area. So all of this information is in our header.php file, and it's ready for use all the way down to that particular div that says ins header area. So we're going to open our index page, and we're going to look and say, hey, check this out. We got ins header area. We're going to come up here, and we're going to delete all of this. We're going to get rid of it. So now what we're left with is a smaller amount of HTML content. That whole top section we got rid of. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to basically paste the get header. Now here's what you need to know about PHP. We need to open that tag just like this. You need to have no spaces before your first PHP tag. Even that one space right there can cause problems. It may or may not, but it's bad form, and it's the frustration of many. So the very first PHP tag on the page needs to make sure that you have no spaces, no white space before it, or any other characters for that matter. Once we're done with it, we're going to just save it. And now we have basically a call out that says, go get all of that content, the contents of header.php, output it here, and then output everything next. So now that we have that involved, I'm going to go back to the blank tab. We'll go to our demo. And now we only had an index.php and a style. Well, this index file is no longer accurate. We're going to delete it, and we're going to replace it with the new header and new index. The new index that basically has the top section removed and the call to get the header as well as the header.php file. And if we've done everything correctly, we see that the site still works. Everything is still here, and it all looks appropriate. However, only some of this information now is dynamic, and we can't necessarily see all of it because I didn't create the title to be dynamic at this point. But if I want to show you, let's see, what did we create dynamic? We did create dynamic to be the title tag. So right now, let's go take a look at the title tag. We'll view source. Let's go look at the title tag. See if we can figure out where it is. And here it is. The title tag says changed live. This is the tagline. So the title tag currently is outputting the text probably from the site description box or the site title, and then it's outputting the tagline with the pipe character between it. You also see that it says the meta character set is UTF-8. This is different than the statement that we made inside of our HTML. This is much shorter, and it's dynamically, excuse me, it's dynamic. Let me take a drink. It's dynamically being pulled from inside of WordPress. Same thing right here in the HTML. You'll see that it says the direction, dir, is left to right, meaning that the content is supposed to be read left to right. The language is EN-US for English US. This, again, is dynamic content that we added. If we come down a little bit more to the body class, you'll see that it's got a body class of home page, page ID 11, etc., etc., etc. It even tells us that we're logged in and that we're currently viewing the site with the admin bar on, that profile bar. And that's dynamic content that's being displayed, again, by WordPress. So yes, this currently doesn't have much functionality, but you get the idea. It is technically a theme, and we have started the process of adding some amount of dynamic content. The rest of this I'm going to basically leave to primarily your imagination. As you get the site files and you look through them and compare them to 2011, you'll be able to see basically where I scraped most of that content out and basically just pasted it back into the content. The end file structure that you're going to get given, and I'll show you that here in a second after we do one other thing. I'm going to do one other thing, do that live. You know when we went into WordPress and you see that there's no image here, but there is for 2010 and 2011? You may have wondered how that happens, and WordPress makes it really, really easy. If you ever want to remember what the size of the file is, if you're using Firefox, you can right-click any one of these images, and you can click View Image, and it'll show you the image. And typically, if you hover over the browser bar, I'm getting a note that my audio is bad. Jerry, is my audio bad? Hello?
Nope. I wasn't getting any audio bad.
Okay. Well, it went away, so hopefully it was just a temporary thing.
Everyone's saying it's good.
Okay. If you hover over, using Firefox, hover over the area in the browser, you'll see it shows up screenshot.png. It says it's a PNG image, and it's even telling me the size, 300 pixels by 225. So 300 pixels in width by 225 pixels in height. So if you just simply create an image that's 300 pixels wide by 225 pixels that represent your theme, all you have to do is name it exactly screenshot. It has to be all lowercase, it has to be together, not hyphenated, just the word screenshot, specifically as you're seeing it here in the title bar. Now, it doesn't have to be a PNG. WordPress is really smart. It will use a PNG image, it'll use a GIF image, it'll use a JPEG image. It doesn't care what the extension is, but as soon as you drop in a screenshot, or an image named screenshot into your theme folder, it'll automatically pull it right into the theme area within WordPress. So here's what we're going to do. We'll go back to my demo site, and I think I can bring up, we'll see, new little piece of software that my buddy Dave told me about. Ooh, register. Called the Little Red Snapper. Now, you don't have to use this tool. You can use any screenshot facility, but this makes it pretty easy to do this, so I'm going to use it. So right here, I'm going to set the value to 300 by 225, since that's the end result I want, and we'll see the size change here. I'm going to click the camera icon, and it's going to let me take a snap of this. So I'm just going to click and drag and hold until I'm kind of happy. Took a snap, and it's inside of here now. Well, I can scale it down. Again, you can do this any way you want. You don't have to have this piece of software to do it. I'm going to scale it so it's as close to possible. Let's see. Oops, jumping the wrong way. Want to pretty much fit. Yeah, right about there looks good. I can drag it around a little bit. And I can click on this and tell it to fill the background with that color. And now I've got a screenshot. So I've got a screenshot of my real little demo site. And now I'm simply going to just do File, Save. And we will save this right inside of our theme folder. And we will just simply name it Screenshot. And to show you that it doesn't need to be a PNG, I'll leave it as a GIF. Oh, I think I actually have to put the, I have to put the extension. Screenshot.gif. Just make sure that your spelling is correct. Save. Okay, so that's done. We now have a screenshot inside of our demo folder, and you can see that right here. And once I upload this, I guess I should have left that open. Once I upload this to the theme folder for demo, you don't have to do anything else. WordPress is just smart, and it knows to look for screenshot, and if it finds it, it displays it. So there's nothing else that you need to do. And as soon as we refresh, Woohoo! We have a screenshot image now of our new theme. You'll notice that it's a different size than down here, and that's because it's active. So if we were to activate, say, 2010 for a minute, you'd see that it's the proper size. You see that it's the same size as everything else. So there's our screenshot. We've got our theme name, which again, this content is being driven from that CSS comment in the style sheet. And we have a simple, basic working theme. The process of slicing and dicing this thing now from this point until completion is really the same. You really simply need to look at, you need to look at a theme and figure out how you can go about slicing the content. So if we look at the live theme again, although at the moment I changed it, I'll reactivate Charlie. And go take a peek at it. You'll see that the top area can be easily cut out and become the header file because, again, this area would be used across each page of the site. You'll see that it's easy to chop out the footer, and that's really easily done because there's hardly anything there. The sidebar can be chopped out, and then you can activate the sidebars and mess with widgets, etc., and have all of that functionality separate. The more complex bit, really, or at least from a discussion, is really the main content, and that's the last thing we'll talk about in regards to theming, as far as creating a theme. Basically by using a starter theme like 2010. This area here is outputting content from what's called the loop. The loop is something that's important for you to understand if you decide that you want to mess with themes at all. Basically what the loop is it's PHP that basically says to look into the database and to find if there's any content that matches a particular amount of criteria. In this case, it would be looking for post content. And if it finds post content, what is it supposed to do with it? Well, it's supposed to output it to the page, but when you see it, it's kind of, it's complex to look at, but when you see it, it's kind of strange. It looks like all it would do would be to output one post. But in effect, it'll output as many as you have that meet the criteria. And by that I mean this. So if you remember from inside of WordPress when we had activated, let's go activate 2010 again. Go take a look at the site with 2010 active. And let's go look at let's go look at the blog page. Okay, so on the blog page right now, we have 3 posts. So in the settings area of WordPress right now, we've defined it to be able to show as many as 10 posts on this page before it breaks it into a second page. Well, the loop basically is really only one. So what it does is it says to look into the database, find out if there's content that meets the criteria. If there is, output it. And it's all styled in accordance with your CSS. The next thing it does is it says, okay, well, am I done? I'm not sure. So it says, well, wait a minute. Based on the conditions in the settings page, should I be done or should I continue to run the loop? Well, it looks at the settings page and it says, well, they've indicated that they're willing to allow you to show 10 posts on this page. Oh, okay, so it goes back into the database, it loops basically back in, and it sees if there's more content. If there's more content, if there's post number 2, basically, it outputs it. It looks at the condition again and says, okay, look, now I'm at 2 posts, and I can still go to 10 on this page, go back and loop again into the database, output the content, and it continues that process until it outputs the full amount of posts that meet the criteria. If, however, you go into WordPress settings and you change that setting such that you say, okay, now I only want you to be able to show 2 posts. So let's do that. We go to settings, and I think it's reading. And we go to blog, at most shows 2 posts. And we save changes. If this is working right, we should see one of these drop off. And we do. So the reason why it drops off isn't because we've deleted the post. It's now available right here under this older post link. But it's dropped off because that condition has now changed. The loop is looping through the database to try to output the content, and it's also using that conditional statement from the settings page that says, okay, wait a minute, he said to create a new page whenever two posts are put on a page, and we already have 2, so the next one has to be created on a new page. And I'm hoping that makes sense, at least from just an understanding of it. It is, like I said, a little more complex to actually look at. The other challenge, so I'm going to basically close all of these. The other challenge is basically kind of where to find it. Let me open up 2010 again and show you what I'm talking about. Like I said earlier, themes can be built differently and are frequently built differently and frequently include different files, different template files. You're not always going to find the same exact setup, which makes the whole discussion of how to create a theme and how to work with themes, like I said, very complex. If I open 2010, which is the WordPress theme we've been using as our starter theme, typically speaking, you would think that the file that we're looking for is in index, and sometimes you will see that the loop is indeed inside of index. I'll open up I'll open up loop itself. We'll open up both of these files. Okay, so we have index open firstly, and very frequently inside of the index.php file, you will actually see the code to actually run the loop. Now this, you might think, well, isn't that it right there? And the answer to this is not really. It is definitely connected to it, but it can be done differently. So here's what I'm saying. You'll see the comment. It says it runs the loop to output the posts. If you want to overload this in a child theme, then include a file called loop index. I don't know if overload is probably the right term, maybe to overwrite it or overwrite it would be better, and that will be used instead. It says then to get the template part, again, remember that we're talking about template files, get the template part, loop is the first part of it and index is the second part of it. So loop hyphen index really is what it's saying. And if we open up 2010, you'll find out that loop hyphen index isn't included. It's not included because they're basically saying, look, if you want to do this differently, if you're more advanced and you want to do different things with the loop, simply include a file called loop hyphen index, and that's where these 2 values are coming from, is loop and index, and that will be used instead. In other words, the top level in terms of hierarchy loop file that this is looking for is loop index, and if it doesn't find it, it's going to look for basically just loop. So the question then is, okay, well, since this really isn't the full loop, where is it? Well, in this particular theme, it's included in loop.php. Now, not every theme has a loop.php file. That's basically my point. When you open up loop.php, take a minute to read the actual CSS or the actual comments. The comments will give you a lot of understanding and even URLs specifically to go to learn more about WordPress theming. And this is what I love about using the 2010 or the 2011 themes as starter themes, is because they really have done the the WordPress team has really done a very strong amount of work, a lot of work to basically help you, the new theme designer, set about your theming process, and even giving you additional source information of where to go to learn basically more. So if we scroll down now a little bit more, we're actually going to find the loop, and you'll see right here it says start the loop. And you'll know that you found the loop when it looks like this. This is actually, from technical terms right here, this is the start of the loop. So it says PHP while you have posts, basically output the post. So this is a PHP while. I don't know if statement is the right term. Jerry knows more than I, but basically it's saying that while you find posts in the database, to output the post. And then it has a little bit of information on how to display posts with the gallery format, etc. Something completely different than what we're talking about, our theme. And then it starts to talk about other PHP functions, getting post formats, etc. This is not part of just the basic loop. This is other stuff. The real loop is really started basically right here. So down here it says PHP the content, so output the content, and then it says else. So basically while it finds posts in the database that basically again match the criteria set inside of WordPress settings, to output the content, and if it can't find the content, then it has an else statement, then do something else. And I'm not sure entirely what it's doing all here, but there's the PHP if. Well, here's the start of the if. If the post is password protected, etc. Else, do another statement, etc. And it just keeps going. Basically, is my point. This information has how to display posts with the aside, etc. Information on how to display other posts. And all the way down at the bottom, you'll see it ends that end while portion, which basically means it started with PHP while have posts, or have posts, and then it says basically, woo, we're finished. This is the end of the loop. So this is the part of the content. Everything from here basically to still going right here. Everything from line 56 all the way down to line 173 is technically the loop. And again, there's a specific URL reference at the top of the page, codex.wordpress.org/the_loop, that you can copy and paste this into your browser to learn more about the loop. And if you want to learn more about template tags, which is basically the ability to dynamically pull content from the database and inject it into your theme, then this is the URL to go to. So with that, I'm pretty much done with talking about customizing themes. I really didn't get into slicing it into the sidebar and the footer and separate from index, but I think you get the idea. When you get the package that we'll include over the next few days from us, you'll see that I extended it a bit further. Actually, no, I'm not finished. There's one other thing that I do want to talk about, and that's how to customize, or how to create a custom page template. Maybe we should do that inside of the child theme. Let me see. When you get the information from us, it'll be called Live Demo Theme, and it'll actually include a little bit more information. I've actually coded the index page, the header, the footer, the sidebar. There's a page.php file. There's a full page template, and I can open that and just kind of show you the two here in just a second. There's a functions file which you can open up and take a peek at and compare to the 2010 theme. Still a screenshot, etc. But you'll be able to play around with this to your heart's content. You can't break it. It's just yours for playing with. Let me open up full page and page. I created these because I get asked this question very, very frequently, so I wanted to show you. Here is the page.php file. You'll see that it starts with the get header, and then it outputs information, and then you'll see at the bottom it finishes with the loop, and then right here you see that I've told it to get the sidebar and then get the footer. So it basically builds the entire file. And I guess I should point out something else. The loop that I've used in my file is way simplistic compared to the loop that I just showed you inside of loop.php found in 2010. I basically went off book and found a much more simplistic loop to use. So the entire loop, let's see, for this particular page, for index page 2, let's see, is right there. So it starts at line 5 and it goes to line 43. Hopefully you'll have a little easier job at looking through this code because it's much more minimalistic as opposed to the loop that I was just showing you. And again, it's basically the same, you know, if have posts, while have posts, the post, there's some template tags where it's going to output the post ID as part of the ID post hyphen whatever the ID for that post is. It's going to set the post class. It's going to link the permalink to the title, etc. That's basically, you know, this is a really good template to basically follow along because I think you'll be able to understand it much more readily than you would the one that's inside of 2010. And basically, here's something else. I don't think that 2010 necessarily had it this way. Maybe it did, and I've forgotten. But it says that the loop ends here. This end while ends the loop, and then there's something else, and there's the else right here. It says else. So what is else? Else means, well, if it finds loop content, if it finds post content, to loop through it until it's finished. Else, meaning if it can't find anything, what is it supposed to do? In this case, I have it coded to output a heading 2 that says, whoops, nothing found here, we're sorry, but we couldn't find what you're looking for, etc. And then through PHP, this is again a template tag. It outputs the search form, so it would actually output a search box and a search button that would allow them to search the site if it finds that no post criteria met the loop criteria. So that's basically what that means. But let's take a look at this page.php file. So page.php, if you notice down here, it includes the sidebar and it includes the footer. I frequently get asked how to create custom content for a page, especially as it's referred to as a page template. And so when you look at my package, the package that I send you, make sure that you open up fullpage.php and have a look at it. It's actually quite simple, but I think you'll find it rewarding in the near future too. So inside of WordPress, and I can go back inside of WordPress here first. Let's do that. Let's go to pages, all pages, and we'll edit a current page. So how about the sample page? One area that pages can differ from posts is in this page attributes area. You're not going to find this when you're on the post editing page or post creation page. You'll see right here it says template and it says default template. So by default, the 2010 or 2011 theme, whichever we have currently active, is going to use the default page template, whatever that's set to be, probably page.php. However, it is possible for a theme designer to include multiple page templates. And if I click drop down, you'll find out that there's only one such availability. It is a one column, no sidebar layout. So if I choose or basically change the template to the custom template, one column, no sidebar, and I click update, let's go take a look and see how sample page changed. So sample page had a right-hand sidebar, and now it does not. Now you see that it is one column and there's no sidebar. And the way that they accomplish that they accomplish that through creating a custom page template that is named, the page template is named one column, no sidebar. So whenever you see this, if you want to see how that was basically accomplished, you can open up the theme package, go open up 2010, and look for something that matches one column hyphen page. So if you want to see how they accomplished changing the content from something that had a sidebar to something that didn't, you can compare page.php to one column page and see the differences and learn a lot from doing that process. You can also see how they were capable of bringing in this template and making it accessible inside of the page attributes box. And I'm going to show you that live here. If you see at the top, you'll see something that page.php does not have. If I go to page.php, you will see that there's no comment code at all at the top. If I go to page, or full page.php rather, you'll see that there is. And this is the specific bit of code that you need to add in order for the page template to be recognized inside of WordPress. So let's just take a quick look at it. It says the template name is full page width template, and the description is a page template that does not have a sidebar. So all I did to accomplish this basically was a couple of things. I just copied page.php in its entirety. I added this bit of comment code such that the template became available to me inside of WordPress. And then I just had to make just a few small changes. One of the changes you'll quickly notice is that there's no PHP get sidebar. It would have been there. If we look at the bottom, I just simply removed it. So that's one of the changes. The other change I made is I determined that for me personally, I think it looks pretty dumb that the page content is kind of here. I think it would look a lot more pleasant if the page content, filled, more of the full width. And so for me, I actually, let's go back and look at full page. I changed the ID of this particular container. It was just content container, and I changed it to content container full. This just gets into the understanding of how to use IDs and classes to style things through CSS. And originally the content container through CSS was told to be 640 pixels in width, and I simply added new CSS, and you'll see that when you open the CSS file. I guess I could do that now. If I scroll to the bottom, I added it at the very, very bottom so it would be easy for you to find. I put a comment code for full page width styling. I created that new ID, content container full, and you'll see that I labeled that width now at 960 pixels as opposed to what it was previously. And then I added some other CSS to style the paragraph tags that were inside of that container. And this is for standard page template styling. So that's my standard page template, and this is the full page width styling. So all I had to do to accomplish the change for my template was just a couple of pieces of CSS. And the way that I accomplished that was, again, to make sure that this ID, anytime you see the number sign, you know that it's an ID, not a class. Classes start with the period in front of them. And so when it says div ID equals content container full, that allows me to style this area through CSS, and it allowed me to change the width of my template too. So when you play around with mine, in addition to the fact that the sidebar is gone, you're also going to see that the page, the content width grows to fill the page too. So that can be something to think about as well. I think there is one other thing now that I'm thinking about it that I did change to this template, and it's something that gets asked a lot. So we'll take a quick look and see what I did. Yeah, okay. We'll compare page.php to full page.php. Again, these are the custom theme files that I created and we are supplying to you. On regular page.php, maybe I didn't. Maybe I did this in the child theme. I think I did. Because this is just outputting, just outputting the page title, entry title. It's not outputting the date. One thing that I get asked a lot, we'll talk about this in child themes. Let me close all of those. Is when you look at a page, and it's not on this one, thankfully, but when you look at a page, typically you don't want, by post author on a particular post date, etc. And that's frequently the type of content that you do expect to see on the post page. Like here you see the post title posted on a certain date by a certain particular username. So you have the ability then through PHP to get rid of this, is my point. And I'll show you that when we basically cover child themes. So we're going to talk about child themes. We're actually going to talk about creating a child theme. We'll talk about what child themes are. We're going to create a child theme specifically for the 2010 theme, the same theme that we were just basically chopping up and messing with, which is a good thing, because that gives us the ability to not have to completely reinvent the wheel. We've already talked about a lot of the theme structure, etc. So a lot of it will actually just build upon what we did in the last, which is good. All right, let's talk child themes, what a child theme is, and basically what you need to build one. So not every theme, I don't know the specifics. Maybe Jerry can enlighten us. I know that he's told me about the issue in the past, but not every child theme apparently can be used to create a child theme around, although I honestly have not found one that stopped me from doing that just yet. So every theme I've played with and have tried to create a child theme for has worked for me, but Jerry does tell me that there are some themes that do not actually work for this endeavor. So I would start, if you're going to start, I would start with the 2010 theme, which you have access to just inside of the default WordPress files, and play around with it exactly as I'm going to show you live, because I can guarantee you that you'll have success with it. Yeah, Jerry.
Some people ask, why 2010? Why not 2011?
Only because of two things. Number one, I'm more familiar with it, which is important. And number two, it's a little bit more simplistic. It's a little more bare bones. I figure it doesn't really make any sense to start with 2011, which is much more complex from a code standpoint, if if just working with the template and trying to theme basically using code from 2010 was complex. It was going to be much more complex if I started to define 2011. So I hope that makes sense. So what a child theme is, you have the ability to create what's called a child theme, and a child theme basically works in tandem with its parent. The two basically work side by side. They both have to be uploaded into the WordPress area. So if you go inside of WordPress and you go to Appearance and then Themes, both have to be installed into the Themes directory, which is inside of WP Content. And once they're both in there, although only one will be activated, only one theme can be activated at a time, both are necessary in order to work together. The cool thing about child themes is kind of this, and I'm hoping it makes sense as we go through the process. You can get all of the functionality and look and feel and benefit of the parent theme, but by using a child theme, you have the ability to start messing with things. You can change colors or fonts or layouts or create new extensions, create new page templates, etc. Inside of the child theme, and your output on the front end of your site will use everything from the parent theme that you want to use and the child theme, the changes that you make in the child theme, anything that differs between it and the parent theme, it will first look at the child theme and take the changes that you made in it, and it'll use them as opposed to using the code from the parent theme. Anything that you haven't overridden then defaults back to the parent theme. Now that may not make perfect sense just yet, but here's a perfect explanation of maybe the why. You might decide to change the font type or size across the entire site, or you might change it just on a page, or you may decide to change or create new page templates, or basically just do any number of things. But what happens is, even though you can affect the change for the visitor, you can't break anything of the parent theme. All of the code of the parent theme remains completely intact, as if you never touched it, because in effect you have not. That allows you to do all sorts of tweaking that you may not have been comfortable with doing it on the real theme, because of course if you start changing code around on the real theme and you break things and you don't remember how to get back to where you were, it can kind of be a big bummer. Now that may not be that big of a deal when you're dealing with a free theme that you can easily just get back from WordPress, but what happens when you buy a premium theme and you want to start tweaking it? Well, of course, yeah, you can create a backup and keep it on your machine, and obviously those are advantages, or those things are available to you. But you can also just decide to upload that theme, create a child theme for it, do all of your high-tech wizardry, all of your testing on the child theme, and see if you can basically create the end environment to show exactly as you want. And then if you ever decide that you don't want to use it, you can simply just reactivate the parent theme and it reverts right back. Another big benefit of using child themes is in terms of theme updating. So what happens if, like right now, you're looking at the 2011 theme and you can see that it has a version number of 1.3. What happens if you make all sorts of custom code tweaks in this theme? You change the CSS, and you change or add or remove PHP template tags, etc. You make all sorts of cool stuff, only to find out that WordPress updated 2011 to now 1.4 or 1.5 or whatever it happens to be. Well, now you're stuck, because if you go update the theme, all of your code changes are going to be, they're going to disappear along with it. If, however, you created a child theme, you can make all of your customizations for the child theme, and those customizations are then independent of the parent. So if the parent theme were to go through a version update, you could update that theme and have a very good chance that it would still integrate perfectly with your child theme, keeping all of your customizations separate basically and allowing the new improvements to just basically build upon what you've already done. So that's kind of the hows and whys of a child theme. So let's kind of talk about kind of how it's done. Let me go back to my favorite blank tab, and we're going to open up, yes, Jerry.
Somebody's asking, what's the difference between this and a skin? You want me to answer it?
Yeah.
A skin is typically used on other types of sites. That's some of the names they use, which is maybe just a graphic or something laid on. Child theme is basically an extension of a theme. A theme has not just pretty looks and stuff like what a skin might have. Skins are not used in WordPress, but it has code and extensions and layouts and different things. And a child theme is kind of like a mask that is put over an existing theme to extend it the ways and alter the way it looks for your particular use, while what's underneath it is still the same.
Cool.
And then there's two other questions.
Okay.
Somebody made a comment about multiple children. You can't have a child of a child. You can't have a stepchild. You don't want your children having children. It's a child theme goes over a parent theme. You can have multiple different child themes that have the same parent theme, but you can't do a child theme on a child theme. It doesn't work that way. And this is different than WordPress multi-user or MU. This is just a theme that goes on top of an existing theme. It's still a single site. So.
Yeah, it just works in tandem with any other theme. Of course, I say any, I mean any other theme that allows child themes to be created, which
is the majority of the ones that are out now, but some of the older themes and some of the obscure themes or poorly written themes do not allow children.
Okay, cool. That just means that it'll work most of the time. In the case, my own experience, I have yet to run into a time that it didn't work. So let's just talk about what at minimum you need for creating a child theme. And we talked about at minimum for a theme itself inside of WordPress, you need a style.css file and you need an index.php file. Okay. This is the theme, the child theme that I've already created and that we're going to work with, and I'm going to just basically break down for you. But I've named it Wild Child just for fun. The only thing that you actually need to create a child theme is you need a directory, a folder that's named, and you need a style.css file. That's it. You don't have to have any PHP template files or anything else in there. Of course, if you don't include the screenshot graphic, it won't show the pretty little image inside of the theme area. So typically you might want one of those. You know, if you don't care, that's cool too. But the cool thing is that you have the ability to now, you'll notice this page here, one column hyphen page. You'll recall if you were in the last session, if we open up 2010, the WordPress theme, you'll notice that it has a file exactly named one column hyphen page. So here's what the child theme allows you to do. Let's say that I like pretty much everything about the theme, but you know what? I kind of don't like the layout for one column page, or I don't like the fonts, or I don't like, I want to create a new custom page template. I want to do, you know, other stuff that it doesn't have. Rather than messing with or editing any of the existing files, you can simply copy them out, just an easy Control-C copy-paste type thing. Paste them into your child theme and then tweak them over there. So if you break stuff, who cares? It just doesn't matter. You can dump it and it goes away and everything's fine again, because remember, you're not actually changing any part of the actual parent theme. We're using the 2010 theme as the parent for this, and you'll see how that works. And I'm not changing any of the files that actually live inside of the 2010 theme directory. I'm only altering the files that live in my new folder or directory named Wild Child. So let's say that you wanted to change, I don't know, you wanted to change the content for the 404 error page. I'm going to copy this out. We'll add it to Wild Child. We'll just build another page for it live, and I'll show you basically how that works. I'm just going to open up Wild Child, and I'm going to paste that new template page inside. So now we have a 404 page also. Let's go take a look at the site. Here it is right now. It's running the 2010 theme, the one that we're using as the parent. And what happens if a 404 error exists? Let's see. Let me put in blog/kevin.html. That page doesn't exist, so I should get a 404 error. And we do. So this page is the 404 error page, and I can tell you because I know the WordPress hierarchy, at least as much as this page is concerned. This page is being driven off of the 404.php page. It says, not found. Apologies, but the page you requested could not be found. Perhaps searching will help. And then here's a search functionality. Let's say that's not what you like. Maybe you don't like the wording on this page. Maybe you want to add different content. Maybe you want to add a banner, with to your affiliate link for your hosting account. It doesn't really matter. You can do whatever you want to the page, is my point. So let's just open up that page and tweak it. Let me go back to my blank tab, and we'll open up here. We're inside of the child theme now, and I'll cover this more in depth, but let's just say right-click this and open it up in Edit Plus. We'll take a look at this. Now, of course, here we go again. We're looking at code. Don't freak out. The top section, what is it? Come on, anybody that was in the last section, you know what it is. It says to go get the contents of the header.php file and drop it here. Easy enough, right? We don't have to know more than that. That's all it's doing. Down here at the bottom, same thing. Go get the contents of footer.php and output it here. Okay. Not a whole lot going on in this page. It's pretty simple, which is why I chose it. Where's the real content? Well, it's right here. Let's see. It's got a division with an ID of post-0, meaning that there's no post. It can't find that post, with a class of post error 404 not found. Heading 1 tag, a class of entry title that's going to say, what is it going to say? It's going to say not found. Remember that not found that we just said? That's where it's being delivered from. And then it's also going to echo this other content that says apologies, but the page, here it is. Here's the content. So let's say that all we want to do is just change the wording. We don't like this. We want it to be a little bit more, we want to be more fun. Our site's, funner than these guys. These guys are just boring. So, I don't know. Uh-oh. I will make it short. Doesn't like the single quote. I can see that already. Fortunately for me, Edit Plus is telling me that it doesn't like it. Because it already has the single quotes wrapped around here, if I go try to add the single quote, it's going to be problematic. So because I know that that's happening, I'm going to point it out to you, and then I'm just going to rephrase it. So we changed it a little bit. Uh-oh, content not found. Apologies, I don't know. It just doesn't really matter. You get the point. You can change this to whatever you want. This is in a content writing session. So how about we are sorry, since I know that the we is going to mess us up. Jerry's going to tell us how to fix it. We can just fix it with the HTML actual entity code, right?
You can use the entity code, or you can flip the single quotes to
doubles. Yeah, we don't want to mess with it.
Right.
Anyway, HTML entities, if you're not sure, you can search on them. Certain characters are not HTML compliant. Basically, the single quote and the quotation marks are one of them, and I think I remember what it is, and a POS semicolon, but I'm not going to mess with it. So at the moment, I just changed a little bit of the content, and I'm going to save this page. So we haven't, made some crazy change, but hey, we've customized it, and that's cool. The ability to customize stuff is cool. So we've just done that. Let's take a look though at the style sheet that I've created, because that is really the backbone of this entire thing. Let's go open up inside of Wildchild again, the style sheet for the child theme. Yes, Jerry.
Somebody mentioned, so you just grab all the theme files and shove them into a new directory. And I just wanted to set it up correctly. It's like a mask. You only are copying the ones that you're modifying.
Technically speaking, you could do exactly what you said, but it's overkill. It's not needed. So if you don't need to change, if you don't want to make changes to index.php, there's no reason to copy it and paste it into your child theme. Just leave it exactly as is. So exactly what Jerry said is absolutely true. You only bring over the files that you need to tweak. So I'm gonna show you the styles sheet as it is right now, and I'm going to tell you that it doesn't have to be like this either. It can be done differently, but I'm gonna leave it like this just because it's easier to explain. So at the moment, all I did was copy the entire style sheet out of 2010, and I pasted it into the Wildchild directory. Again, you don't have to do this. You can actually include a style sheet that includes nothing more than this information at the top, and then it also needs what's called an @import statement that basically imports the other contents of the parent themes style sheet into here as well. But I figured at the moment I'm going to leave that alone just because it does add a layer of complexity, and I figured I just wanted to kind of make this as simple as possible. So the only thing I've done to this point is I just copied the entire style.css file and I just pasted it inside of the Wildchild directory exactly as it was, and then I entered a bunch of returns. Basically, this was at the top, and I entered this bit at the top. That's all I've done, and this is really easy to do. So when you get this file, just use it as a basis to file. Just follow along. So here's what you need to know. Theme name. Initially, this was 2010, right? I've changed it to Wildchild. You can name it whatever you'd like. You can now basically claim to be the author of this theme, because in effect you are. You're not claiming to be the author of the 2010 theme. You're claiming to be the author of your child theme. And so whereas before this would have linked possibly to WordPress.org, etc., now you can cause all of these to link to your own. Very similar, just the way you can creating your own custom theme. As a side note, if you really wanted to, you can even go start selling your child themes. That's perfectly acceptable as well, just FYI. If you get really good at it, and there is definitely a market for it, there is the ability to sell child themes. So the theme name is whatever you want the child theme to be named. Please note you don't need to include the word child. There's nothing magical about it. I just happened to name it Wildchild just because I thought it was fun and it kind of made sense. So the URL to your theme, wherever that is, you can include it or not. Remember that you don't have to include these if you don't want. You can get rid of them. The description, again, is the description for your theme. I just typed child theme based off of the 2010 theme, so you remember what theme it was using as its parent. The author is your name, whatever your name is. Again, the author URL, this links this bit of text to this URL. The version, just starting with 1.0. And here's the important bit. This is the only new piece that's changed from the original style sheet comment, and that's this part, template. Template colon 2010. Now here's what you need to know. This must be identical to the directory name or folder name of the parent theme that you are creating the child for. And remember that both this new directory name, whatever that happens to be, in this case it's wild child, and the 2010 directory or theme, they both have to be inside of the themes directory in order for this to work. You cannot just upload your new wild child theme to WordPress without the parent theme. It will not work. You can, of course, continue to work with the 2010 theme without the child. The child is not dependent, the parent does not depend upon the child, but the child is definitely dependent upon the parent. I'm hoping that makes sense. So that's it. I mean, literally all you have to do to create a child theme is to copy the style.css file and then add this one line. If you did nothing more than that, it would work. Of course, I would recommend that you change the theme name and change these other values, but I'll do it again live for the 2011 just so you see how easy this is. So I'm going to save that, and that's really all that's there. And let's take a look. What else did I do? Okay, the one column page is the page that I tweaked, and the screenshot is nothing more than I just created a silly little custom screenshot you'll see here in just a second. Let's go take a look at the live site that's currently running the 2010 theme. We'll take a look at the 404 page after we're done too. Right now, let's go look at, let's see, the one column page. Okay, so this is the one column specific page template that the 2010 theme is using, and I wanted to tweak it. I wanted to change it and show it differently, and I'm gonna show you that basically now. So let's open up the new file in the child theme, and we'll also open up the style sheet so you can see how I affected the change. And then we'll actually, you know what? Let's upload. I'm going to change my mind on the fly. Let's do this. Let's upload the child theme, activate it, and then take a look at the difference. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to upload the entire directory, wild child. I'm going to upload it right into my themes directory. Again, remember that you also have to have the parent, which we do right there, 2010, and that's it. So now that we go back to here and we refresh, we'll see that we have a new option, wild child, my custom screenshot. And you can see that the data is being pulled from the style sheet just like before, wild child 1.0, by your name, child theme based off the 2010 theme. The different part is down here. This is the part that's unique. It says wild child uses templates from 2010. Changes made to the templates will affect both themes. Now, this is kind of, I don't like that. Now, this is something that I've written. This is something created by WordPress, but I don't like this. I think this adds confusion. Maybe some of you disagree. Maybe Jerry disagrees, and that's okay. Doesn't change the fact that I'm right. I'm kidding. So it says that changes made to the templates will affect both themes. Well, I guess from a technical standpoint, maybe that's true. In other words, if I make a change to 404.php here, it is going to override whatever was initially in 404 page in 2010. So then in that regard, I suppose that it does affect them. But here's what I think a lot of beginners, they freak out about. They think, uh-oh, if I make a change here, it makes a change over at the other parent theme. And that's not true. The whole reason we're using a child theme is to not have to actually hack or touch the original code over at the parent. So even though affect may be technically accurate, I don't really like this statement. Changes to the the child theme from a code standpoint only affect the child theme. It just happens to also um, uh,
Yeah,
override the content over at the parent.
I find it confusing. If you can just scroll down for a second, I think what it should say is changes made to the 2010 templates will affect both themes. Because what it's trying, to me, what it's trying to say is if something happens over on 2010, it's also going to affect Wildchild. Or something happens in Wildchild, it doesn't affect if you switch over to 2010.
True.
So that's why it should, to me, it should say changes made to the 2010 templates will affect both themes because it's the parent. If you change the parent in any way, it affects the child. If you change the child, it only affects it if it's running.
Correct. That's a good, I never really thought of it that way. It doesn't necessarily say changes made to the templates. To what templates? The fact that it says plural makes me think to both, but anyway.
Right.
The end result is this. You're creating a child theme so you can hack away and feel completely secure that you're not messing with the parent. So when you create your first child theme, my suggestion to you is go wild. Just have some fun. So let's take a look at this. Let's go ahead and activate the child theme. And we'll see that the new theme was activated. You see it says this theme supports widgets, etc. Anyway, all of the functionality that was available inside of 2010 is still available to me inside of Wildchild. So you'll still see over here that under Appearance, we get menus and background and header. And these are custom, the background and header are custom options to the 2010 theme. They're not found in most themes. But we still get all of the benefit of the parent theme, and we still get the ability to basically get crazy and basically start hacking at code without having to worry about altering anything in the parent theme. So with that activated, let's go back and look at this page and take a look at it. And hey, I think that looks a whole lot nicer. So basically all I've done is I've altered the content area for this page. That's all I've done. Something simple, but man, if you were going to use the 2010 theme, I sure like this a whole lot better than that smallish singular column that to me just looks really funky. Hopefully you agree, maybe you don't, and that's okay. Down here, you'll see that it also still is outputting the ability to comment. Now, again, you can turn this off inside of WordPress. We've already shown that inside of the settings area for the post editing area for this particular page. We can turn off comments and this would go away. You can also just basically kill that entire area in the theme. Now, typically I would say that's a bad idea. It's better to leave the functionality such that the user can either decide to use it or not. But I just want to show you that that's possible. And hey, if it's your child theme and you're the user of it, you can do whatever you want. So let's take a quick look at kind of how I affected both. Well, I affected the layout, and then we're going to get rid of the comment area, and then we'll come back and take a look at the 404 error page because that's been changed too. So let's go back to my favorite blank screen. And we've got style open. Let's go open one column page and take a look at it. Actually, we should also, yeah, since I'm not exactly sure, I probably put it at the bottom. I typically do that. And I typically add a CSS comment. I'm trying to scroll past the area for the GoToWebinar panel so I can, this file is really long. Come on. I'd grab the scroll bar and pull it, but I can't. It's hidden behind GoToWebinar. There it is. Okay, now I'm going to go fast, so watch your eyes. Okay, good. I put it at the end, which is typically my habit. So down here, you'll see that I added new child theme styles, and this is only the CSS that I changed, just for fun. So a couple of things that I changed. Number one, I wanted to just show you about the one column page template, and this is the only thing that I changed. I also changed something on posts with an ID of 27, and you'll see that here probably in a minute too once I find that post. So originally speaking, you can basically try to find the area of the CSS that's controlling things and then change it. So you can see where the width right here is 900 pixels. If I scroll back up, let's see here. I want to search for this exact bit of text. I'm going to Control C. I'm going to basically scroll all the way back to the top. I'm going to put my cursor somewhere. I'm going to click Search and then Find. And I want to find that string. Okay. You can see here in the content that earlier on, they've got a comment that says layout, one column, no sidebar. So that's basically made it easy for you to find this. That's kind of funny. They actually already had a full width, no sidebar page. I didn't even see that when I did that. That's for something else. But as far as the one column, no sidebar layout, you can see that it says one centered column with no sidebar. And you can see that initially they had set the content width to be 640 pixels. So one way to look for the CSS is to simply look at the CSS document and see if you can find comments that give you clues into what CSS is controlling what. And this bit of text here tells you that the one column no sidebar layout with this description is basically being controlled by whatever CSS follows it, etc. So I simply copied this, took it to the bottom of my file that I just showed you, and I changed the width value to 900. Now, I could also have just pasted it right here. I could have just changed this value to 900. That would have worked just fine. The reason why it worked putting it at the bottom of the file and changing it, basically now we have a conflict, right? One value says to set it at 640, one value says to set it at 900, but we both know, because I just showed you live, that it's using the 900 pixel variant. And the reason that is because of the cascading effect of CSS, and I don't want to confuse you more than I possibly already have, but technically in CSS terms, content or code that's found lower on the page is considered the most relevant. So the fact that that other code is lower on this page, it basically overrides this content. So that's all I had to do, and I could have just changed it right there to 900 pixels, and that would have worked just fine as well. So I'm going to leave it initially set just so I can kind of see how it was originally. And that's all I did to create that new layout. So additionally, let's look at the site again, and let's do another search and cause the 404 error page to come up. And now we get the new 404. So, content not found. You realize, or you remember that this said, not found, apologies, etc. So, quite simply, we very simply changed that page. And like I said, you can do anything you want. You can add dynamic content to this. You can add static content. You could add a banner image to your favorite affiliate program. You could add AdSense on your 404 page. You can do all sorts of stuff simply just by tweaking the code of this page, with the understanding that anything you do here completely does not affect the parent theme. So if you break something significantly, it just doesn't matter. You can dump the page altogether, copy the 404 page out of 2010 again, paste it, and start over. That's the beauty of child themes. Let's see. I think one of the posts, it had an ID of 27, and since I changed the permalink structure, I don't know which one that was. It's not that one. I got a little silly with it, we'll just check Hello World. It wasn't that one. And if it wasn't that one, maybe it's this one. We'll see. It doesn't look like it. It looks like I may have deleted that post while I was messing around. Initially, I had found a particular post with a particular unique ID, and I started styling it individually. So let me see if I can kind of do this kind of live. Let's go to live post. What I'm going to do, you can do it a number of different ways. You can just search the source code. I'm using a free extension called Firebug, and it loads up here once you install it. I'm going to click on Firebug. It brings up this window at the bottom. I'm going to click on this arrow, this cursor icon first. And after I've done that, minimize this a little bit, you see that as I hover over different areas, it changes the code, what I'm seeing down below. If you look at the code, let me fix it here for a second and open this up so you can see this a little bit better. Look right here where it says right above the words live post, it says post-4. So this has a post with a class of 4. So since I know that, I'm going to go back and change my CSS. Let's go back to the new tab. And again, I apologize, but I don't know that there's a fast way to sped things up. There we go. Get to the bottom of this document and take a look at this. So anything that has a division with an ID, and again, ID in CSS speak is equivalent to the use of the number sign, the pound sign, the hashtag, whichever way you're used to referring to it. Initially, I must have created a post and deleted it. It had an ID of 27. And I'm not saying that this is good practice, but let's just say for whatever reason you wanted to style one particular post completely differently than every other. You can do it. So if you know basically how to I always use the word attack, and I don't think that's the right way to say it, but if you know how to define or figure out the content inside of the HTML, you can style it via CSS. So this basically says if you find anything with a class of entry title that's a H1, a heading 1 tag with a class of entry title that's inside of anything that's a post with an ID of anything with an ID of post-4, to color it pink. So that post title for that post is going to become pink. And the paragraph for that post, anything with an ID of post-4 that's also a paragraph, I should color that blue. So let me save that now that I've got the right ID call out. And we'll upload the style sheet back to Wildchild. And we'll tell it that we want to overwrite the existing file, and we'll go back and take a look at it. Now, in essence, if I've done my job correctly, this text live post should become pink, and even though there's not much text there, just that word demo should become blue. So, and whoo-hoo, we did it. So that just gives you an idea. You can technically, if you know a little bit of CSS, you can do all sorts of things. You can change colors individually on posts or on categories, or move stuff around. It could be layout, it could be adding, like I said, it could be adding things like a banner image, could be adding all sorts of things can be added or changed in regards to your theme if you know a little bit of CSS and you understand the child theme principle. So with that in mind, I'm going to very quickly create a new child theme for 2011, and we're going to do it in literally like 90 seconds just by simply using nothing more than the style sheet. And so if you want to just start playing around with it, and if everything I've just said has basically gone over your head at this point. Hopefully this will make perfect sense. So here it is in complete live mode. I'm going to create a new folder. I'm going to name it, I don't know, live child. I'm going to open up WordPress. I'm going to get inside the WP content directory inside of themes. I'm going to open up 2011. I'm simply going to take and copy the style.css file. That's it. I'm going to highlight it, Control C to copy it, and then I'm just going to navigate backwards and I'm going to find the area that I was in, and I'm going to put that file inside of live child. There it is. I'm going to open that style .css file in a text editor, could be Notepad or whatever you have available to you, and here it is. You've seen it. Well, all I'm going to do is very quickly change this to live child, and yes, I would change everything else like I showed you, but just for fun, I'm just going to make this super quick. All I'm going to do is add one additional item that says template : and then this has to be 2011, and you can copy and paste it right from here because that's where it's showing you. That's exactly the file path to 2011, and that's all we want to use. So there it is. It's now a child theme. That's it. We're done. If I now take this and we upload it into our themes directory, we go back inside of WordPress and we refresh, there won't be any screenshot, but we immediately get live child 1.3 by WordPress team, etc. And you can see at the very bottom again that the live child uses the templates from 2011. That's it. That's all we had to do to create it. And if I activate our new child theme, it will now operate exactly like 2011. Everything is exactly the same. So just understand that's all you need to do to create a child theme, and I'm hoping that made perfect sense. And from there you can go start extending it and playing around with it and learning more about CSS or anything else to your heart's content. For example, I don't know, we'll open up the style sheet and take a look at it. What can we easily mess with to just cause this thing to
background
look funky? Yeah, we could, let's see. Only thing is I'm not sure I know exactly where body background is white, but that is the reset. Let's see. We'll do a quick search. We'll just search for background and see if it's called out more than once.
So while you're doing that, somebody asked about both themes, or the theme and the child theme need to be uploaded. But they said, are they both activated? You can only activate one theme at a time inside of WordPress. So you either have the child activated or the parent activated. When the child's activated, it uses the parent, but yeah, one or the other needs to be activated. That said, you should always activate your parent theme at least once before using it. The reason why is some themes have initializations procedures that they have to go through and set up database and stuff like that, and they don't always get activated when they're used as a parent theme from a child. So so you should activate your parent theme, then activate your child theme, at least the first time.
Cool, that's good information, something I didn't even know. This is likely it. I can't guarantee you since I'm only looking at, but it looks like this is global CSS. So here's the font, and here's looks like the background color. So let's just kind of do this. We'll change the default font to, I don't know, we'll do Times New Roman. That'll be very obvious. And I don't know, the font size should now be, I don't know, 18, so the font's going to be big. And the color should be for the background, oh, I'm thinking yellow.
Oh, green yellow.
You want green yellow?
Yeah, green yellow. My favorite.
Green yellow. Okay, so if we have affected it correctly, we can go back to FTP, go to live child, simply just update. Oh, it didn't take. Hang a second. It's not. There it is. Sometimes in FTP you have to hit the refresh button. It's there, but it didn't show. So, okay. Put the live child style back in there, override or write the existing. Go back to the site, and we should see different fonts, bigger fonts, and we should see a green-yellow background if we've done it right. Okay, well, we got different fonts. Green, yellow. I don't know. Maybe
maybe just
I did it wrong.
Oh no, it's green, yellow, one word. I'm sorry, I was.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, I was.
I don't use green, yellow. Green, yellow, all just one word. Is that correct?
Yep, that should be it.
Okay. Yeah, if you mess up CSS, you can mess up all sorts of things. So, but that's the cool thing with the child theme. It just doesn't matter. It's a great testing ground. What am I doing? I'm going to re-upload that. And hopefully, if that CSS was accurate, bingo, woo!
Awesome.
We have a green-yellow background. So we now have a custom child theme for 2011. We've changed the default font. It was as easy to do that. It was Helvetica New, and now it's Times New Roman. And you can see that since that CSS seems to be global, you can see that we've got Times New Roman in the navigation, in the post titles, etc. So if you wanted to, just simply change the font, that would be one way to do it. But here's the cool thing, right? If we go back, we activate 2011, here's the last bit on child themes. What's going to happen? Voila, right? We're back to the exact original font. Nothing has changed in the parent theme. Everything is perfect, but literally in just a couple minutes time you can create a child theme and start playing around with things to your heart's content. So I'm hoping that you guys absolutely love that, and I hope you guys go out and just get crazy with child themes, because you can learn a lot in the process. And once you get good at it, if you find a parent theme that you like, that the functionality of the parent theme is really good, the coding's good, etc. If you go and start basically creating a really solid child theme around it, you have the ability to then take that child theme and port it across multiple sites and maybe just tweak the child again. So you can create one child theme, and maybe on one site you want Helvetica New. On another site, you want everything else the way you've customized it, but you want to change it to Times New Roman. Literally in just a few seconds time, as you saw, you can make that change, and then boom, you have a new font, or maybe new font colors, or new background colors, etc. You can simply just copy the child theme, give it a new name, tweak a couple of values, and cause the look completely to shift. So with that, I am done with themes and child themes.